In this video, we're going to show you how to install the inner tie rod end on your Nissan Murano located on the steering rack. Note that the vehicle raised and supported, so it's good to use our 21mm socket to loosen and remove these lug nuts. Now we want to go grab the wheel and remove it. I'm going to start by loosening our jam nut here. You can use a pair of large pliers, put it on there, and break this free. Ideally, you want that jam nut to spin separate of that inner tie rod. If it isn't, go ahead and spray it down with some rust penetrant and loosen that up so it spins separate of the inner tie rod. Now your outer tie rod comes out to the ball joint right here and attaches to the knuckle. We want to get loosen and remove our cotter pin, and we're going to do that using some cutters. You can do pliers as well, but go ahead and grab the legs on that, straighten those out on the back side, and then if you can, grab the head. We're going to pinch that and kind of pinch and pull, like kind of rock it, prying that cotter pin out. Cotter pins are one-time use. Never reuse them, toss it out. Using an 18mm socket, loosen the nut. Okay, just thread that on there a little bit. Now I'm going to use a little pry bar here. I'm going to pry up gently. I'm going to strike the knuckle here. Pop that free. And then we'll remove that nut. We now want to go ahead and unthread the outer tie rod from the inner tie rod. Now you do want to go ahead and count the amount of revolutions it takes to remove it off of the inner tie rod. That way there, when we install the new component, we're going to be able to go ahead and thread it on the same amount of threads, giving us a preliminary alignment setting. Roughly 13. I'm going to go ahead and take a crayon and I'm just going to write 13. I'll normally put this up on the inner fender liner somewhere. You can write it on a piece of paper if you want. But that's just a reminder so I don't forget. Just going to remove our jam nut. Once you remove this nut, we're going to go ahead and focus on the clamp on the bellows boot. Here's a clamp right here. You can use a pair of pliers. Pinch that clamp, remove it. Now if you follow the bellows boot down inside, there's going to be a band clamp right around the back section here that clamps it to the steering rack. Now you're going to look for this little loop. There's a loop on there. It could be positioned anywhere around the band. Now this band is a one-time use, so our goal is to simply knock it off. We have a screwdriver here with a notch in the tip, and that fits right inside there. And we're going to use our hammer and just knock that off. Just like so. Go ahead and grab that bellows boot, and our goal is to simply twist and pull it off. Grab that band and remove it. Now we're going to use a pair of pliers here to go ahead and loosen our inner tie rod from our steering rack. What might make it easier for you is to go ahead to the passenger side, grab that wheel and crank it all the way to the right, and that's going to move the steering rack out furthest where you can gain access to it. Use a large pair of pliers. I'm going to go ahead and grab a hold of this. And we want to loosen it. Simply going to reach in and wipe this off. You also want to inspect where the rack itself or the shaft goes into the rack. If there is fluid in there, then that could be that the inner rack seal is damaged and may be potential replacement of the steering rack. Ours is just a little bit dirty, so we're going to clean it up. After we clean the rack shaft itself, we're going to install the washer right on the end. Take the inner tie rod, line that up, and start to thread that on. All right, let's go ahead and tighten it down. You do want to make sure that it's good and tight. Now we're going to add some extra grease to the inside here. I'm going to go ahead and work that into it. Going to remove the jam nut. Now this tie strap is going to replace our metal band that we broke off earlier to remove the inner boot. So what we're going to do is we're going to start this on a few teeth. I'm just going to put this on. When we slide this on, we want to make sure that when we get this to secure it, it is on the outer portion of the boot, on the outer rib, and then we're going to secure it just like so. Go ahead and slide our Bellows boot on. Line that boot up on there. Now what we're going to do is going to pop that on, but I'm going to go to the passenger side and I'm going to crank this wheel just a little bit. I'm going to pull that shaft in, make it easier for us to get that boot on. Now I'm going to reach up underneath the engine cradle. I'm going to use my needle nose pliers and I'm going to grab the plastic tie, the pigtail. Do want to go ahead and line this up. Gonna snug that. Going with our cutters, snip off the excess. With the inner boot installed, I'm going to go over to the other side, crank that wheel straight ahead. That's going to put us in a neutral position. Let's now go ahead and get our inner clamp on. I'm going to slide this boot out. Now normally you can use the metal clamp that we removed off of the original part. I'm going to put that clamp back on. If that clamp is rusted and it's kind of sketchy, you don't want to risk it breaking and letting water into this boot. You can use the supplied plastic tie strap just like the inboard portion. Before we place our jam nut on there, I want to go ahead and put some anti-seize on the threads. I'm going to go ahead and thread this on 13 rotations. Now remember, this is just a base preliminary setting for the alignment. After you do this whole job, the vehicle does have to get the alignment professionally set. All right, let's go ahead and snug this down. Now before you run that cast nut all the way down, you do want to pay attention to the hole in the ball joint stud here for the cotter pin. It's running through over here and comes out the other side. Use our 18mm socket to go ahead and gently snug this down. Let's go ahead and torque that down. Let's go ahead and torque this down to 33 foot-pounds. Now what we want to do is see if we can locate that hole There it is right there. I'm going to pull that through. And I'm going to grab my cutters here, grab that longer one, bend that over, tap it up, snip off the excess. Now that we're done here, let's go ahead and relocate up to our jam nut. And we do want to go ahead and tighten that down. You do want that to be good and tight. Now I'm not going to end there. I'm going to come back out here to our tie rod. And we don't want to have our tie rod cocked all the way forward or all the way back. We want to try and make this more level. I'm going to simply grab this here and twist it like so it's nice and level here. Now you want to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. Install your wheels and get it down and get that alignment performed. Grab your wheel, get it set up on those studs. Then we're going to go ahead and start all of our lug nuts by hand. Now you want to start these by hand. That's going to prevent cross-threading and damaging the studs. Once you get them all started, we'll go ahead and snug these down. All right, let's now torque it down. Let's now go ahead and torque down the lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Now when tightening this here, it's best to do it in a crisscross or star pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.